Okay, so firstly, let me introduce myself. This is quite important. I'm like a perpetual traveler, so I don't have any residency in European Union. I decided to change my residency to Panama, just because I want to be compatible with the traditional organization. But technically, I don't need any residency in any country. A few years ago, probably 5 years ago, I completely switched to crypto. So instead of using like traditional bank accounts, I closed almost all my bank accounts. Still, I have one company that uses bank account, but most of my companies, they are like completely in crypto. So, and I started to analyze how it is possible to survive in the world when you cannot make traditional banking transaction and you are completely full on crypto. And what is quite interesting, and I started to write this presentation maybe 2 years ago, and the funny thing is that like every 6 months I have to completely rewrite this presentation because everything is changed. Many services are cancelled, are closed, there are some new services. So the thing is, if you want to survive completely on crypto, you really need to check what is just happening, you know. So this may be a bit complicated. Regarding my background, I'm like a computer hacker, so I have two companies focused on IT security. We do penetration testing, hacking. Also, we do one company is bug bounty program company. So it's something like Uber for hackers. So we are trying to connect the hackers with the customers. But what can be important for you? I'm one of the founder of Parallel Polis in Prague, Parallel Polis in Bratislava, and also one of the organizers of HCPP. They used to call me like ideologist. I don't like it. But anyway, maybe when you visit Parallel Polis, you can feel that it's not like a normal organization. So we try to promote the idea of like absolute freedom. That's exactly what we love. So, firstly, before I'm going to explain you how it is possible to switch from traditional banking system to crypto, let's analyze why do we need privacy. So I decided to summarize 4 different reasons. So the first reason is that in many countries, for example, in like my home country, Slovakia, there is like a cash ban, which means that in Slovakia, you cannot use cash above 5,000 euros as a physical person, as a legal person like company, and 15,000 euros as a physical person. What basically means that, for example, I want to buy a car from you as a physical person, and if the transaction is above 15,000 euros, and we use cash, it's a criminal act, and we will end up in jail. So it's really terrible. So the thing is, so it means that the governments, thanks to this legislation, they basically force you to use bank accounts and to use traditional banking system. And one of the reasons why they force you to use traditional banking system is that they just want to spy you, they want to track you, and also they want to control your transactions. So it also means they want to block your transaction in case they think they are suspicious, for example. So we should be aware that if you do any like transaction online, so as I mentioned before on panel discussion, you want to buy some porn, this information about the given transaction is known to your credit card companies like Visa, MasterCard, to your bank, and also to your government. So many different institutions know basically all your financial transactions. And also we have a lot of so-called protective regulation like KYC, AML, and all of these regulations, they basically lead to financial dictatorship. I'm going to explain you why. Also, if you do business, like if you're like a European companies, or you do business out of European Union, so for example, you try to send money out of the European Union, you probably know that it's really it's really complicated. So for example, when you want to send money above $10,000, you have to provide your invoice to your bank. And if you want to send money above $50,000 out of the European Union, you have to provide the all agreements with the customers, a lot of things. Otherwise, the bank can can freeze your transaction or can freeze your bank account, and it will take you really days or weeks just to unblock your transaction. Okay. Third reason is that, you know, behind these credit card companies and behind these banks, there are still people, and all these people and all the technologies they use are vulnerable to hackers. So we can see there were many incidents in the past when bank employees misuse the sensitive information. And for example, and not only bank, but also organization responsible for KYC or AML. I wrote an article, this is the link to article. It's called like how KYC AML poses a serious threat to your privacy and should not be used at all. And the thing is that in these days, on some specific dark markets, you can buy like 1,000 profiles, KYC profiles of existing people, including their passports, like scanned passport, scanned proof of address, scanned photo. So the thing is that, like, does it make any sense to use KYC or AML if I can buy identity of any person on the dark market for $15? And the price, okay, the price is $45, but the $15 is the price of one document. So if I can buy on dark market identity of any person, it doesn't make sense to use. It doesn't make sense to use KYC AML at all. At least I'm looking to this like a security expert. Also, there is something what is called OECD tax agreement, which basically means that all countries they agreed to share information about taxes of all their citizens. Another interesting thing, I'm one of the big critics of GDPR, because especially I used to call it like a European schizophrenia, because according to GDPR, you should really protect sensitive information of all European citizens. So for example, especially GDPR recommends to use both anonymization and pseudonymization at the same time. But at the same time, another EU legislation prohibits people to use anonymous prepaid cards, anonymous SIM cards, anonymous transactions. So the thing is, what the fuck, you know, like, so because many mobile operators, like for example in Czech Republic, they sell anonymous SIM cards. Also in Austria, 2 years ago in Austria, also in the Czech Republic, it was possible to buy anonymous prepaid cards, but it's not possible anymore because of threat of terrorism. So the thing is that at the one side, we have GDPR, and GDPR recommends to not to gather any sensitive information. On the other hand, the bank cannot issue like anonymous prepaid cards. The mobile operator cannot issue anonymous SIM cards. So yeah, I would call it like really some kind of schizophrenia. And the last reason why do we need financial freedom? Because it's a really effective protection against seizure of your assets by the government. Because at this time, the government can freeze your bank account, take your money, take your physical cash or gold, take your property, suspend your business. By the way, this is really happening now in the Czech Republic. For example, in Czech Republic, well, this guy, I have him on my T-shirt. His name is Babiš, and he's Czech Prime Minister, and also one of the the richest guy in Czech Republic, and also the mafia boss. And what is doing this guy, because he was the Ministry of Finance in Czech Republic, he basically exploited or misused Czech tax office to destroy his competitors, and this was happening. In Czech Republic, the government has destroyed many innocent companies just by freezing their accounts. So this company, they started to sue the Czech government or Czech tax office, and they win after, and they won after, for example, 1 year. But during this period, because they couldn't use bank accounts at all, they bankrupted. So, and this wouldn't happen if they used crypto instead of bank accounts. Okay, so one important thing to realize is that real digital privacy starts with the protection of your financial transaction. So firstly, I'm like a privacy extremist. I like Bitcoin, but you should be aware, like when you use normally Bitcoin is not anonymous. Bitcoin is pseudonymous. So Bitcoin at this time still doesn't have property which is called fungibility. But fortunately, we have truly anonymous cryptocurrencies. Probably you know all of them: Monero, Zcash, Zcoin. Particle is a project which is still under development. And also in progress there is something what is called ZK DAI, which is like an encrypted DAI. But the most stable project in these days and most used project, and it's the second most used cryptocurrency in dark markets, is definitely Monero. So I use daily Monero. These are some technical details. You should be aware that if we switch to Bitcoin Lightning Network, we can gain a lot of privacy thanks to onion routed micropayments. And also, if you use Bitcoins, and especially with the combination of dark markets, it's really necessary to use Wasabi wallet. I consider Wasabi wallet to be the most secure and privacy ever wallet in these days. Okay, so the thing is that if you use any centralized crypto exchange, I mean centralized crypto exchange means that there is some specific company behind this crypto exchange, and this company is regulated. You have to follow AML KYC regulations. So I'm going to explain you how it is possible to stay in crypto and use fiat instead of KYC AML process. And as I mentioned before, KYC database of Bitrex, Poloniex, Bitfinex, and Binance was hacked and sold at the black markets for $45 for scan of passport plus proof of address and plus your selfie. So the thing is, even if you want to register at these centralized crypto exchanges, you can use Store, and you can use verification on some random ID you bought on the crypto market, dark market, for $45. So many people, because of this, they started to use local bitcoins, but also local bitcoin, they started to enforce KYC AML. For example, I spent a lot of time in South America. In South America and Colombia, crypto exchanges are officially prohibited, but everybody uses local bitcoins. Also, there is a similar project which is called Local Monero. One of my favorite decentralized crypto exchange that supports fiat is definitely Bisca. And the cool thing about Bisca is that, as I explained yesterday to Max, you can use Revolut and N26, and you can use random email address where you will associate with the Revolut account, and you can directly can receive bitcoins or sell bitcoins and receive Revolut or N26 transactions. Also, another interesting decentralized crypto exchange is called HODL, which is it's a decentralized peer-to-peer Bitcoin exchange, which does not hold funds. And at this website, you can find the comprehensive list of decentralized crypto exchanges. One of the problems is that their liquidity is probably very, very, very low to use. And also, especially in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, you have hundreds of Bitcoin ATM machines. So for about 33% fee, you can change your cash to fiat or cash to crypto or crypto to cash. Okay. So firstly, if you don't want to use a bank account, you should be able to pay to make SEPA transactions. So there are multiple ways. First, I'm going to explain the ways that require KYC AML. So one of very popular project is called Bitfalla. It's a Berlin startup. Unfortunately, they have really strict KYC AML process. So for example, they requires a video call. Also, now it's pretty complicated to use it because firstly you have to top up your crypto, then to your an online wallet, which is not very secure. Then you need to change Bitcoin and make SEPA payment, what basically means you have to do 2 time-consuming and expensive BTC transactions. And also they require tax ID. This is quite interesting because I wanted to use it, but there was no Panama because my tax country is Panama. So I asked him what country should I use, and they told me like use Slovakia. But I wrote them, I'm sorry, but I'm not Slovak tax citizen, and it was the end of our communication. And also, I think in Latvia or Lithuania there is like project called Mr. Tango. It's basically just a SEPA account that can be topped up with the BTC. But when you want to send money to Mr. Tango, it's quite expensive. It costs 1% or at least 0.025 BTC. It's quite expensive, but the cool thing is they should be like a crypto friendly. So when you do, what you can make direct SEPA withdrawal from your Cracker, Bitstamp, or any centralized crypto exchange directly to Mr. Tango. But I'm going to explain you how to survive without using these centralized services. Okay, and fortunately there are some Bitcoin SEPA gateways that don't require KYC ML, but all of this is valid only for transactions which are less than 1,000 euros. So BitBill it's a Dutch project, really interesting. So, it seems to be like completely anonymous, so they require no KYC ML. It's a bit more expensive, but the cool thing is this is probably one of the best way how you can pay your bills. Another project from Prague, it's called SimpleCoin EU. You can use SimpleCoin EU to pay to make any SEPA payment, and also payment inside of Czech Republic, for example. And they also don't require any KYC ML when you plan to make transaction less than 1,000 euros. Another interesting Czech project, or the best way, like in Prague and Bratislava, we have Parallel Polis or Parallel Polis, and we have really big communities. So, for example, we have like hundreds of people around our place. So we have like internal communication channels, and when we are selling or buying crypto, we do that inside of our community without like any checks using cash. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. So another cool service you should definitely check is a Finnish project, which is called Lamium.fi. You know Lamium? Raise your hand if you know Lamium. It's a super project. I really like it. It's a decentralized way of invoice payment, and it doesn't require any KYC, any AML, and even no registration. So everything you have to do, just upload your invoice, send bitcoins to some specific address, and for 2%, someone from the big community of the verified payer will just pay your invoice from his or her local personal bank account. So this is super cool. I really like it. So if you want to pay any invoice, you don't need to have really any bank account, because you can just use this service. And some for example, in my situation, random people in European Union pay my invoices. So every invoice is paid by someone else, but I don't care. Okay, and it works. And they charge only 2% from the invoice. Okay. If you use like Bitcoin debit cards, you should be aware you have no privacy at all. In the past, like most of Visa and MasterCards, prepaid Bitcoin cards, they were issued by the company which was called Wavecrest. But unfortunately, they had some conflict with the Visa and MasterCard, and almost all these Wavecrest debit cards were blocked. So as I know, in these days, you have only two, like a Bitcoin debit card, Bitvala and Varex. Varex is quite cool because it supports a lot of shitcoins, including DAI. So I use it with the combination DAI, for example. But you should be aware, there are no anonymous debit cards at all in any country, probably. And the reason is, of course, because of threat of terrorism. So the thing is, if you want to use debit card or credit card, and if you want to have any like privacy, the best solution is just create your offshore company with a nominal director, and ask for your open the bank account somewhere, and ask for the debit card which will be written to your offshore nominee director. The thing is, you cannot use you can use this card probably to pick up the cash from ATM machine or for online payments, but you cannot use it for post-terminal payments because in most physical shops, they can ask you to check your physical identity or like your ID. Okay. Another option, these are not Bitcoin debit card, but maybe very useful, especially for perpetual travelers, are the two cards, Revolut and N26. So these are like a normal payment card, but I really like Revolut I really like Revolut because I spend a lot of time, for example, in Europe and also in South America. And what I can do, I can make a regular payments. So for example, I can pay my invoices monthly in Colombia, in Argentina, in Slovakia, in Czech Republic, and everything at the same time. So I'm not aware that there is like any other bank which is capable to provide me such service, like be able to pay like anything in any country in the world so easy. But of course, these cards are not anonymous. And also, there is like a German competition. Revolut is like Gibraltar-based company. And there is N26 competition, which has stricter KYC AML process. I think it started from Berlin. Okay. And the third option, also very popular, is to use TransferWise. Also, why use TransferWise? Because they didn't ask me for a proof of address. So I use only my passport to verify it on TransferWise. So it seems they are crypto-friendly. So I did like a direct withdrawals from famous crypto exchanges directly to TransferWise, and it worked. And also, you can find at their website that TransferWise Limited is a UK company, and what is quite important, at this time we are not reporting this information to HMRC or any other tax authority. So I don't know exactly what does it mean, but I hope that they really, or they should care about the privacy of their customers. Okay, so now let's summarize. Oh, and there is another service which is called Bitwage. So now I showed you a lot of different services you can use to pay your invoices or make SEPA payments or like traditional fiat transaction. But when you have a company, you also need the opposite. So you should be able to receive money from the customers who don't use crypto. And for this reason, there is service which is called Bitwage. And Bitwage basically provides the opposite gateway. So it's not like a fiat crypto gateway, but it's crypto fiat gateway. So they provide you like a temporary IBAN and SWIFT code. So you can issue the invoice to your customers. Your customer just makes like traditional SEPA payment, and they receive your money. They change it to they will change it to Bitcoin, and you receive just pure Bitcoins. But the thing is that the KYC and AML process to open the Bitwage is pretty difficult because otherwise this service may be used for money laundering. And there is no similar anonymous service. You should be aware of that. Okay. Another very interesting service is XMR.2, which is anonymous service that can be used also from the Tor or I2P network, which basically mix your Moneros with the BTC. Cool thing is that all these BTC, you receive like a clean BTC, so Bitcoins which are not tainted, you know, so you should be able to use them. They have really good conversion rate, and it's really stable service. So especially if you use Bitcoin, you should be aware there are at least 4 or 5 different blockchain digital forensic analysis companies or agencies, and these companies they can analyze your Bitcoin transaction. So I think especially mixing your Bitcoins using Wasabi or XMR.2 is extremely important and inevitable. Okay, another hack you can use I strongly recommend is just to change your tax permanent residency. So the thing is that, for example, as I mentioned before, in Slovakia we have really bad legislation. In Slovakia, you have to pay taxes from your profit from crypto. So for example, now when Bitcoin is going up to 20,000 euros, you have to pay profit you have to pay taxes from your profit. But if you lose your money, you cannot use it as your expense. So for all entrepreneurs, all companies in Slovakia, it doesn't make sense at all to use cryptocurrencies. So especially because of this situation, it makes sense to change your tax residency to some other country. Like for example, me personally, because I don't spend like in any country more than half a year, I have no tax residency at all. I even don't have tax residency in Panama because I don't spend like 183 days in Panama. So the thing is that when you change your residency, what you can do, you can register to the centralized crypto exchanges like Kraken or Bitstamp with your Panamanian residency. And in case that you change, for example, your fiat or your crypto to fiat, instead of your like permanent residency, tax office, they will contact residency in Panama. And because Panama is a territorial taxation country, and which means you don't need to pay any taxes from the local income. It means that Panamanian tax office they just throw it away, anything from crypto exchanges. Okay, so advantages of having residency, there are a lot of them. Okay, wait a moment. So let's switch to complete banking setup. So if it is possible, issue all your invoices to your customer using Bitwage. Prefer direct Bitcoin or Monero payments everywhere where it's possible. Pay all your bills using services like Glamio, Simplecoin or BitBill. And for all other payments, use like a Bitcoin debit cards. And if you expect more anonymous scenario, this is like a banking setup without using KYC ML. I strongly recommend it to invoice the customer directly in Bitcoins and Monero. Always mix and receive Bitcoins using Wasabi wallet or XMR.2. You should be able, or you should pay all your invoices using services like Glamium and BitBill that do not require any KYC, AML, or any registration. And you should use cash all the time. So what you should do, just visit Bitcoin ATM machine. For example, in Slovakia, you can exchange you can exchange your crypto Bitcoins to cash up to 5,000 per day, which is 5,000 euros per day, which is quite a lot. And you should be aware that you should never use Revolut, N26, or any Bitcoin debit card because it's not anonymous. And I also strongly recommend you to change your permanent tax residency to territorial taxation country. Okay, so that's all. Privacy of the government, fiat money is dead. Long life to anonymous cryptocurrencies. Thank you a lot for your attention.
All right, go ahead.
Thanks for a great talk. I would like to ask your opinion about anonymity of Liquid. So basically you can...
Of what?
Liquid sidechain by Blockstream. Okay. So they have confidential transactions, so you can get Bitcoins into the Liquid, do confidential transactions and get out. Can you compare that to going into Monero or mixing or other stuff?
To be sincere, I don't know. I didn't study Liquid, but after this presentation I will check it. So I have no idea. But what is crucial is that you have to have like a big community, which is necessary for mixing transaction. You know, it's like Tor and I2P. Like I2P, like anonymization network is super cool, but there are only few nodes. And in case, so from this point of view, Tor is always better because it has a lot of exit nodes. And the same for like mixing services. Any cool mixing service, any anonymous coin doesn't make sense if it is used only by few people. Okay, some other questions? Okay.
Thanks. So in Germany, the 6 months rule isn't interpreted in the way you would think it is interpreted, that 183 days. And I wonder if it's not actually the same in all of the EU. The way they interpret it is by defining your center of life.
Yeah, exactly.
And the center of life is typically where you stay more than half the time.
Yeah.
But in fact, if you own a property, if you have a child living in that country, if that child goes to school, or even if you have just the key to an apartment there, they can define that as this is your actual center of life.
Okay, very good question. And my answer is that, so the thing is, you shouldn't own anything. Like, for example, I'm like a homeless person. So I sold everything to my companies, or you can, for example, if you want to be Panamanian resident, you can sell everything to your Panamanian company. So as a physical person, you will own nothing basically. So you are pretty immune against seizure because the Romanian government, for example, cannot take your property which is owned by Panamanian companies. So this is the first thing. Another thing, if you have children, of course, or if you have wife, you have to change the residency also for her, or just divorce. 2 options. I recommend to divorce. And if you have children, you also have to change the residency to Panama. And this is also super cool for people who want to homeschool their children, because normally, for example, in Slovakia and Czech Republic, we have like a mandatory education, so all children, they have to go to school. But for example, if you have children and you change the residency to Panama, for here in Romania, they will be like children of tourists. They can still visit Romanian schools, but because they want, not just because they must. This is a big difference, because the Romanian government or any European governments cannot force children with a residence in Panama to go to school, and it doesn't make sense. And this is super cool, especially in Panama, because in Panama, you can homeschool your children. You just need to register your child to any like a online training course. You just need to print this like a receipt that you register and you paid for your online training course. You have to bring this receipt to the Panamanian Ministry of Education, and that's all. So it's quite easy. So yeah, so you have like something like we just call a center of your interest. So it means you have to sell everything, but you can sell it to your companies. And also you need to do it with all your family. So, okay, any other questions? Last question.
Thanks. Very interesting talk. I was wondering, is there any project you are aware of that make some kind of decentralized stablecoin that is privacy?
Yeah,
on layer
I
1?
mentioned it before. It's called it's in progress. It doesn't exist yet, but it's a ZK DAI.
This would avoid a lot of frictions with the current banking system that we have now.
Yeah, it's ZK DAI. So it's basically DAI, like a MakerDAO DAI.
Yeah, I know.
And some people that are working on like encrypted version of DAI, which is called ZK DAI.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
ZK DAI, it doesn't exist yet, but it should be like a encrypted stablecoin.
Nice. Okay. Thank you.
Maybe last question. Yeah.
Wanted to ask you if it was hard to get that Panamanian residence. Did you need to go there? And what about other alternatives such as, I don't know, Georgia country?
Yeah, okay, very good question. So the thing is that there are many territorial taxation countries in the world, many. For example, even North Korea is territorial taxation country where weed is legal, for example. But you don't want to go to North Korea. So the thing is that Georgia is also a nice country which is territorial taxation country, and you don't need to pay tax from your foreign income, or also Costa Rica, for example, or Paraguay. So there are a lot of countries. The problem of especially Georgia or Costa Rica is that to get the permanent residency in Georgia or Costa Rica, you have to buy some property there, some flat or house for 50, 100,000 euros, something like that. And also you have to create a company, and this company has to have any economical activity. But in Panama, nobody cares. In Panama, you don't need to buy anything, so you don't need to buy apartment or I don't know, house or anything. And also, you also need to create Panamanian company, but you don't need to use this company at all. It can be suspended all the time, that's all. So yeah, there are many other options, but are definitely more expensive. Okay.